Testing, testing. Can anybody online hear me?
I can hear you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, Chair Fry, we are live streaming and recording and ready to go whenever you are.
All right, let's call this meeting to order. It's 8:01, October 24th, meeting of the Parks Board. Please, can we take a roll call of attendance?
Yes, sir. Commission Member Bicknell,
Present.
Commission Member Bissell, Board Member, excuse me.
Here.
Board Member Green,
Here.
Board Member Teal,
Here.
and Chair Fry.
Present.
We do have a quorum.
Okay, first item on the agenda is approval of our consent agenda. If you've had time to review that, can we get a motion?
Where does public comment come in?
Oh, excuse me, you're right. Yes, public comment is right now.
I have a procedural question. I have comments on two of the agenda items.
Yeah, go ahead and press the. And
Stanley Green, College Place.
Thank you.
So I have a procedural question to start. I have comments on two agenda items. Should I do that now or when those items come up?
No, right now.
Okay. So my first comment is about Lions Park project funding. So as some of you know, I believe it was $500,000 was pulled, and that has a huge impact on parks funding, as you well know. That wasn't merely cancellation of a grant program. The city of College Place had an executed contract with that agency, and the city of College Place had fulfilled the conditions on its side of that contract. And I want to encourage this board to encourage the city in order to preserve the plans that we have for improving parks and recreation to join with other cities. I'm sure College Place wasn't the only city this happened to, and pursue legal action to enforce that legally binding contract. Again, it wasn't merely cancellation of a grant program, it was abrogation of a contract. The next item I'd like to talk about is the comprehensive plan. I served on the City of College Place Planning Commission close to 30 years ago when our main task was bringing the comprehensive plan into conformance with the then new Growth Management Act. So I have some familiarity with the procedures. My academic and professional background is in transportation, engineering and planning and urban planning. And one of the duties of this board has to do with trees. And as you may know, the state is, or you may hear today, the state now requires a climate resilience element in a comprehensive plan. And two significant elements of climate resilience have to do with dealing with heat. I live in the Harvest Meadows neighborhood, and many visitors for the first time say, "Oh, what a nice neighborhood. It's clean, the houses are neat." When I go walking on a July afternoon, it's scorching and there's almost no shade. And the streets are wider than they need to be. So that means there's a lot more asphalt providing impervious surfaces and retaining heat. So even at twilight, there's still a lot of heat radiating off those asphalt streets, and there's no shade when I'm walking at 3 in the afternoon. When I moved back here in 1993, after having gone to college here, I was thinking, what is it that makes so many of the streets in Walla Walla seem so much nicer than so many of the streets in College Place? And I realized it was a pretty high percentage of the streets in Walla Walla have planting strips with big trees and a tree canopy. And that's rare in College Place, and particularly rare in the neighborhoods where the sidewalks adjoin the curb. So I want you to consider encouraging the city to design or redesign neighborhoods for more trees and streets that are not wider than what they need to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your comment. Okay, moving on to approval of the consent agenda. To have a motion to approve.
So moved.
It's been moved. A second.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
And any nays? Okay, the motion carries. All right, we have no action items today, but we have some reports. First is the proposed 2026 calendar. Can you pull that up?
Sure. Did you want to skip over presentations?
Oh, geez, whiz. Sorry, I scrolled down. My fault. Let's go to, yes, I'm sorry, Lions Park project funding. Thanks, Mary Elizabeth. Mr. Carlton?
Yes, hi, everybody. My name is Brian Carlton. I'm Finance Director of the City of College Place. I was asked to come in and give an update on the project at Lions Park. You can bring up the slide.
The attachments that you sent to me this morning.
Oh, can you grab it from email? No.
Outlook. Potentially.
Sorry, there's a chart I just prepared this morning to show where we're at on cost and revenues of Lions Park.
Is there anything you want to present while I log in?
No, that's the only attachment. Well, I'll start off the conversation that Mr. Green brought up about the cancellation of funding on Lions Park project. That $500,000, yes, through the Endowment of the Arts program that was canceled by the federal government from the Doge cuts, and our money was just taken away. As far as legal action, that has not really been discussed at the city level, but I would imagine there is probably an opportunity, although, you know, it's legal costs and are prohibitive and going after federal government. Something that we probably can discuss, but I'm not sure with the direction of that. That being said, you can see on the screen, here's where we stand on the Lions Park project. This is from a cost perspective, and I'll discuss about the revenue impact near the end. So you can see we have spending to date of about $6.6 million. There's some final payments being assessed, one to Anderson Perry and one to Nelson Construction, and also retention that needs to be paid to Nelson once the project is wrapped up. We're looking at a total project cost of just shy of $7.4 million. The budget was projected at $6 million, leaving a deficit on the project at just shy of $1.4 million. You can see at the bottom of the screen, the change orders are addressed there. The Nelson change orders of $653,000 and Anderson Perry of $643,000 for a total of 1.3, which pretty much explains the deficit on the project. As far as funding goes, in the presentation discussion, it showed where we had to borrow $1.5 million from our tax increment financing program at the end of last year. There was a combination of factors. It looks awfully correlated to the project deficit, although more related to timing at that point of when we received reimbursement on grants. And we had I think it was identified in here, a total of about $1.6 million of unreimbursed grants that we had outstanding at the end of the year, and we didn't receive until, you know, I think it went as far as the first 6 months of 2025 before we collected that total 1.6. But that being said, that deficit is equal to about the money we borrowed from the TIF fund. So that's the project overage. And included in that would be the $500,000 that we didn't receive from the Endowment of the Arts. Currently, we have I think it's a 3-year plan to pay back that 1.5 million to the tax increment financing fund. And there's enough in the REIT over this time frame to make those payments and to be able to cover the deficit. That being said, that means there's very few projects in parks moving forward for the next 2 to 3 years in order to cover that deficit. Open for questions?
So obviously this is really disappointing that those funds were taken back, and I do agree. We don't have the authority that the city has to at least, if not bring a lawsuit forward, lodge a complaint with the federal government that these. And express the negative impact that this is having on our community, and not just at Lions Park, right? Now we're seeing this ripple effect for 3 years. And my wonder is, I'm not somebody who likes to take no for an answer. And so I'm wondering what the city is willing and wanting to do to pursue grants, additional grants, to get some of these other projects off the ground. Do you know if we're pursuing anything, either community, state, or national, for grant funding to continue our work to make a better livable city with parks?
Yeah, I think Robert might be better to discuss that.
I can chime in a little bit. There's a piece of this that's there's a piece of it that's bigger than that, I guess. We have city staff is limited in resources, and we have enough other projects going right now that exceed our capacity already. And so we have gotten negative feedback from the funding agencies that fund parks, and it's hard to want to go back for more and spend the time and effort to go seeking more grants right now when we don't have the capacity to manage those projects in the near future anyway. And so at this point, I think our plan is to get the things that are in queue moving forward and kind of off our plate so we can concentrate and focus and be a little bit more deliberate about some of the projects moving forward. So the goal is to go back for grants and funding in the future. But if we were to get a grant today for a park, we wouldn't have the capacity to run that project anyway with the staff that we have.
Other comments or questions?
I have a question. If there are other people affected by the Doge cuts, if there's a way we can perhaps collaborate with those people, if there's some sort of, class action, or if we could join other people who may have been negatively affected. Has anybody looked into any of that?
At this point, we have not. Of course, we've been out without an administrator since June, so that's kind of hampered our efforts to even keep up with our existing workload. So we now have a new administrator starting in middle of November, so that'll hopefully be a discussion we have with him and possibly move that forward.
Yeah, I certainly would like to see us do that if we can. I think the grant funding is a great thing, and as we move forward as well. But like you said, capacity is such a big piece of this, and the reality is that $500,000 is going to cut from somewhere else, and somewhere else could be funding that affects capacity building for maintaining the projects we have. And we've talked about this a lot, and obviously identified that in the comprehensive plan as a significant need for the city. So I think that's wisdom and waiting. It's disappointing, of course, as we ramp up and see all these amazing projects potentially coming online. But if we can't maintain those projects, if we can't properly manage them and steward them, then it's money wasted and energy wasted. And so I don't want to see that either. I do know that, or I seem to recall having seen that we retained Mr. Rizzatello for some potential grant work for projects like this for the future outside of his old role. So I certainly would love to see us find ways to lean into him as we manage to stabilize some of these other things. And certainly, you know, I myself, and I suspect some of these guys here might be willing to sign on to a letter at the very least. You know, I think the least we should be doing in a situation like this is making our voice heard locally and regionally and nationally, not only directly to those that took the funding from us, but also to other lawmakers that oversee our districts and make sure that they understand the impacts that it has so that they can be looking for creative solutions for us as well. And I know, like has been said, we're not alone here. And so it's not like they don't know, but I still think making noise makes a difference in a situation like this.
I hate to chime in, but there is something that has really resonated with me. We've gotten some feedback from our state and federal lobbyists, and there's some sentiment about even if we did litigate, like going against the Supreme Court and so on and so forth.
Sure. Yeah, I'm with Jordan. I think you know, if everybody's okay with it, I'd like to at least reach out to the mayor and express our concern over this. I also think, you know, to Robert's point, we do need to find a way. I know what it means as a taxpayer in College Place, but we need to find a way to properly fund maintenance of our city, and I don't know what that looks like. What you know, what opportunities we have, but we really need to explore sustainable ways of keeping up with, you know, the growth that we have in College Place and the great facilities.
One more thing I'll add to this too. There have been some recent discussions. I think Mr. Green brought up a good point about this, you know, in regards to even just the sustainability of the parks beyond just the ability to manage them from a people standpoint. I think we have to recognize that what it takes to manage a park from a natural resources standpoint too. And we really need to be intentional as we readdress some of these projects, as we continue to dive into them, that we are creating parks that are sustainable with the resources that we have available. And as we look at things like the reduction of our local water table and water flowing places where we need it, the idea of creating a bunch of surfaces that then need maintenance through considerable water resources is something we need to be aware of as well. So all just things that we need to be watchful of as we think about what it looks like to do this right as we move forward.
Any other comments? Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Carlton. Appreciate it. Thank you, Robert. Moving on to comprehensive plan, Mr. Merritt.
All right. Thank you, Chairman. My name is Michael Merritt. I'm the senior planner here at the City College Place, and we are in the thick of our comprehensive plan update. I'm just meeting with all the boards and commissions, giving them a brief little update. You can access our comprehensive plan update page and the link in the agenda. There is a link to our survey there. We are trying to get the word out. We figure that is probably the way we're going to engage with the public the most these days in this digital age and where everybody's busy and doesn't have a lot of time. So pushing the survey hard. If you all can distribute that to your social circles and encourage people to fill it out, that would be super great. I think we've received a little over 50 responses so far. Also next Tuesday, we're going to have an open house in council chambers prior to the city council meeting. It will be from 4:30 till 6 or 4 to 6:30. 4:30 to 6:30, somewhere around there. So we'll have pizza and waters and encourage people to come out, see the boards, talk to staff, give us your opinions and thoughts about a gamut of things. And then again, spread the word. If you need any assistance or want any additional materials to spread said word, you can certainly reach out to me and I can hook you up with anything and everything that we've got, social media wise, flyers, etc. So thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, I'm here now.
Any questions or comments for Michael? I know we're getting it out on ours today. We kind of have 2 or 3 things in the hopper, but we'll get it posted on our school district.
Appreciate it.
Okay, Halloween trunk or treat. Mary Elizabeth.
Okay. Thank you, Chair Fry. We have a whole bunch of exciting stuff going on this year. This trunk or treat will very much mimic past trunk or treats. Next year, I think we're going to try to do a full fall festival. But anyway, stay tuned. So this year, we're doing a pumpkin contest, pumpkin decorating contest. The police department is doing their mini monster maze. We're going to have games, hot food, hot drinks, and lots of candy. So it will be from 3 to 6 p.m. here at City Hall, and can't wait to see all the little trick-or-treaters.
Yes, it's wall to wall kids. It's great. Okay, any comments or questions on the trunk or treat next Friday? Okay, Winterfest plans.
Okay, Winterfest is something I'm very excited about. Are you aware of any of the planning that we're doing with the cheer squad, Chair Fry?
I'm not.
Oh, okay. So we are in discussions. The College Place High School cheerleaders typically do a kid zone for us at Freedom Festival, which is always wildly well attended. They give out games, prizes, candies, all kinds of stuff. And they do such a good job at hosting a really fun and attractive kid zone. So this year, plans are still in the works, but I asked them to be creative and come up with something pretty spectacular for their Winterfest. So what we're doing, they want to do a Santa station complete with Santa letter writing station. They want to do crafts like in a workshop. They're going to have the cheerleaders dressed up as elves or whatever. They're going to have reindeer games. They're trying to include the STEM classes to build some pretty cool interactive carnival games, and they're building something that they can hopefully do every year at our Winterfest. And so it should be pretty spectacular. What they're coming up with is pretty outstanding, and I'm so excited for that because I don't know if I asked them to run with it, and they did so much more than I could have ever imagined. So anyways, that'll be very exciting. We are also going for a much more retail centric holiday market this year. We're going to have, hopefully the goal is, finding those unique and special gifts that you really can't find in a store for your loved ones for the holidays. So we're trying to come up with a really fantastic, high quality holiday market. Got our gingerbread house decorating contest. Santa's going to be there as always. We're looking at hiring a professional caroling group to do a real performance. And then, of course, the mayor will do her tree lighting ceremony. We're going to have our lighted parade. And new this year is also that the community as well as so the community has really asked us to stop the fireworks after Winterfest. There's a lot of animals out there after the parade, and it scares the horses, and it gets scary, and then it scares the dogs, and it, scares veterans. I'm a veteran, I get it. Anyways, and so we have listened, and we are canceling the Winterfest fireworks show, but everything else is still on, and the things that are going to be happening here at City Hall are going to be way better than they've ever been. So we think we've fully compensated. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Do you have any idea what the budget was as far as the fireworks? How much of that was?
The budget was going to be raised again because of, they said tariffs. So it was going to be over $6,300 this year for that fireworks show. So we're reappropriating some of those funds. That's another thing that I'm proud is that we get to, spend some money with nonprofits here locally for the holidays. It feels like a good giving time, so.
I had investigated what drone shows cost, and they're another.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars. We even looked into getting like a fake snow making machine and have a little snow, thing outside. That's $50,000. So I think we're doing the right thing.
As far as the professional carolers, I don't know if you're interested in whether even they could do this, but it might be well worth asking Rob Harrison, the choir director at the high school. We have an incredible choir program, and they do some winter caroling. And so it may be a place to, one, have a great performance, but also cut some costs there too. I'm not used to have 1 hour up there. That's a lot of singing. So I'm not sure that they probably have the wind for an hour long, but might be worth something just to shoot Rob an email.
I love that. Thank you so much. I'll absolutely do that.
Can you tell us more about the commercial vendors or what the plans are there?
So the plan was, historically, there's been a lot of nonprofit vendors, which is wonderful, but I really wanted to create like a market feel, you know, an indoor mall kind of feel. You got Santa there. You know how it used to be at the Blue Mountain Mall when you go and like Santa would be there and they'd have their little like elves and could take pictures and all that stuff. So I wanted to kind of recreate that within our fire department, weather permitting. So we are recruiting our favorite, like not favorite, but like, you know, some of our highest quality vendors that I think will be really holiday oriented and come up with wonderful gifts and things that are super giftable and unique. So that's our goal this year.
Any other questions or comments on Winterfest 2025? All right, we'll move on to reports. It's proposed 2026 calendar.
All right, thank you. Before you is the proposed 2026 calendar of meetings and events, subject to change as always, and it will change, but this is it for now at this point in time. And please print it off. I will continue to provide updates as they come along as always, but this is what it's looking like next year.
Chartreuse. Is that the right color? Huh?
Which one? This one?
Or the pink?
This is Block Party. This is, oh yes, this is Parboard.
Okay, any questions on that? In particular, looking at ours, fourth Friday of February, May, August, October.
Did we officially, I guess I missed that we moved to quarterly.
Yeah, I was gonna ask the very same question.
So
Go ahead.
I could be incorrect, but what I seem to remember is that we discovered that this commission was always quarterly and that we just kind of been like meeting more often than that. I could be incorrect, but that's something that I remember. As I was going through the boards and commissions, it was always scheduled to meet once every couple of months.
I mean, I'm not like advocating for more meetings, but maybe the new city administrator, Brian, yeah, right? Troy, sorry. Right for when he joins the team, if there are things perhaps that he looks at, you know, we can add meetings as needed.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think a lot of our meetings, of course, were pretty heavy with Lions Park for quite a while. And so I think that maybe will be all that's necessary. So.
And my hope is, you know, by February of next year, we'll be into all that recreation stuff and the Arbor stuff. And so anyways, and we'll have lots of stuff to update the commission with, and always call a special meeting if you need it. We're here to help. And yeah.
I would just add to with the realities of the current funding situation and a lot of our other projects that have been in process effectively being paused, that really does reduce the potential for urgent meetings and obviously all the planning that's happening with the comp plan and some of the updates we've made this year. A lot of the stuff we would typically fill some of those other meetings with won't be there. So it makes sense to me.
Will there be an opportunity for us to meet with Troy before February as members of the park board, or
I would highly encourage you guys to, I would say, is it typical for city administrators? You guys like, so what I'm looking at right now, so you guys meet the fourth Friday of the year or of the month, excuse me, and this happened last year. We have Thanksgiving and Christmas. And so last year we held a special meeting, in December. We held maybe a couple of special meetings because we were going through the parks plan, as I might recall. Anyways, and so I would be more than happy to schedule like a special meeting with you guys. Obviously, let's pull up this year's calendar if you'd like to do that. Have just kind of a meet and greet session with him and
I'm not trying to obligate people to additional meetings, but if there are opportunities for us to maybe have a chance to talk with him, and I mean, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but one of the reasons why I'm on this board is because Mike's vision of what he wanted to see College Place be. And he was very good at getting funding, and he had a vision for what he wanted to implement in this town. I think everything that we're doing here is at the direction of leadership and supporting what their goals are, decision-making processes of what, we're here to represent the people of College Place and provide a voice about Parks and Rec. And I'm curious to know what his objectives are for this body and for the town. So I'm interested, and I would come to a special event, but I'm not trying to make everybody here, give up an evening or do something. But I'm personally am looking for opportunities to understand more thoroughly what he wants to do. And maybe it's going to be a while before he really does know what he wants to do, because he's going to have to get his arms around things. And, parks may be lower on his triage list. So I guess I would say that whatever opportunity you have to introduce the idea that people on his Parks and Rec board are interested in hearing his points of view, I would be one at least that's open to either a special meet and greet, or that at least in February we get a chance to really kind of understand what he wants from us.
yes, sir.
Yeah, and I think it'd be a good idea to perhaps have that be a work session, right? We could really share the trajectory of, what projects we had in the hopper we've been working on, kind of how we've operated in the past, and just have a really, around the table conversation. So maybe that's, looking, February's fine. And perhaps when we look out at the agenda in February, if there's not a bunch of items that we need to have a typical meeting, we could convert it into a work session where that's just the topic. So
I'll have one other comment. I would suggest that we have a special meeting in January. Part of this personal, I think I'm already scheduled to be out of town in February. I hear that we want to hear what he wants to say. I think we want to educate and share our vision. Not that we're surely not dictating that, but share our vision, that he knows he's got a team behind him with a vision for the community. He doesn't have to carry that all himself.
I think that actually would be really, really wonderful.
Yeah.
I believe we need a motion to have a special meeting.
I move that we have a special meeting of the Parks Board in the month of January on the 23rd.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of having a special board meeting work session on January 23rd, say aye.
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 Great. If you can communicate with Troy, get that on his calendar. And I think Norman said it really well. We want to share our passion for this, and really we know that our parks draw a lot of our community together. So it's really important. So thank you. Okay, Downtown College Place Association report.
And Ms. Chair Fry, if you don't want to, I included these as reports so that we didn't have to necessarily present on every single one,
Okay.
but I'm more than happy to. And also, Public Works Director Mick Andrews would like to share something that's not on here as well.
Okay, let me just give a quick update. If you're not familiar, we have started a downtown College Place Association for the Main Street corridor, which runs down College Avenue. The goal is to keep the funds that the businesses pay to the state, the B&O taxes, keep them local. And really that's the gist of it is we want to build up downtown, make it a really walkable, livable, wonderful place, and to make sure that the dollars that are currently going straight to the state and staying there largely will stay here and be able to benefit our great city. So that's it. And we've got a board. We've got have established nonprofit and are kind of moving along. Probably a spring pretty substantial launch in the future of, with a lot of activity. So it'll blend really well with this group in particular. I think because there's a lot of, mutual goal of creating places that people can gather and really enjoy our great city. So that's kind of that in a nutshell. Okay, Robert, what did you have to share?
Yeah, it's sort of two things. I wanted to circle back to the grant question. I'm not sure I answered that as well as I intended, but talking about grants for parks, I just want to be clear that we did apply for a handful of grants for Veterans Park and Kiwanis Park that were declined. And what I was trying to reference, and I didn't say it very well, is they scored very low on the funding agency's lists. And that was why I was kind of implying that rather than spend a bunch of time and energy to go back for them in the immediate future, coupled with just capacity of staff to run projects and then to maintain a finished project, I feel like it makes sense to wait. So I wanted to clarify that. We did go for grants from multiple funding agencies and were declined. And so that's kind of has left us where we're at with not moving forward in the immediate future. We do have essentially a full design of our Veterans Park project, more or less ready to go. So when the time comes, we'll revisit that, likely make some small revisions, dive in. But so that's clarification for that. The other thing I wanted to mention is starting next week, starting on Monday, we have hired a city arborist. Her name is Chelsea Goldsmith. She comes out of the Portland area. She went to Whitman, so she's familiar with the area. Certified arborist, has a ton of knowledge, a good experience. She's been working in the private sector doing contracting arborists for utility companies. So like I think, what is it, PG&E, yeah. So not directly for them, but for a contract that works for them. So we're excited to have her come on board. She's technically funded through our stormwater, but it was going to be doing a lot with parks and helping us with street trees and tree inventory and planning for the future. And so it's going to be really good to get her on board. So I just wanted to mention that because it's definitely a positive step in the right direction and certainly relevant to this group. So
that last part's really cool. I'm excited to hear that. Just curious on the grant funding and the projects. Can you give kind of is it primarily an issue of design that you felt like caused the problem? I'm just curious what your feedback was.
I think some of the feedback that we got was more of an issue on need and just scoring against other agencies that have put in for grants. And there's cities out there that are severely lacking in the park realm, right? And so I don't know all the details, but when you look at a scoring list, I want to say for two of the RCO grants that we put in for don't quote me on this because I could be off, but I want to say one of them had like 80 applications and we were 79th out of 80, and one of them was like 45 and we were 40 out of 45. And so that doesn't bode well for just going right back the next year and applying for the same thing again, even if we make some tweaks. And so I just wanted to bring that up.
No, it makes a lot of sense. And I suspect that, it may have had as much to do with timing and opportunity as anything else, obviously, but that at least helps us understand as we're thinking about what we do in the future, what that might look like. So appreciate that.
Yeah, probably should have asked this question when Mr. Carlton was here, but Robert, that's great. I mean, having an arborist is going to really help, I think, relieve some pressure from you all. Is there talk at city council level about strategies for improving the number of upgrading the number of people in public works and things in the city? Is there talk about how that might happen? Because that really, I think it goes to Stanley's point about, some of the stuff that we have to do goes to our point about improving parks, but it also is about roads and all the stuff that you talk about often.
That's a tough question to answer. So typically in public works where we're successfully able to add staff is in the utilities. Utilities have our enterprise fund. They are self-sustaining, so they bring in revenue. So it's a lot easier to justify bringing in a water utility worker or a stormwater utility worker. When it comes to some of the areas that, in my opinion, in public works we're lacking and we need help with, they're all current expense funded: parks, streets, fleet, project managers and inspectors. And so when it comes to that, public works has to compete with police and fire, community development, all the other city departments. And more of an answer for Brian, but
Because we could run a parks levy. The city could run a parks levy and put a priority and say this, we want embedded in these dollars as a full-time person or two people to do A, B, and C, right?
Yeah. That certainly could be an option. Getting support from the community when there's, costs associated with that is challenging right now. We all have felt the pain in the valley of property tax assessment values going up, and in turn our property taxes go up. It's not that they've raised property taxes, but the assessments have gone up. I think is a pretty consistent in the last little bit. And so everybody's kind of hurting in the tax realm right now. And I think for those reasons, there has not been as much support for anything that's going to add costs to people, but I would be 100% on board with pursuing something like that would help fund more of a robust parks department.
Well, I just think, I'm there too. Our district's got our levy out in February this year, and understand that pieces of that puzzle. And maybe that's a conversation when we talk with Troy, right, is about the pieces of the puzzle and how we do it. We don't want obviously to overtax our community, but it's the leverage points of what makes this a really great city to live in. And so thank you. Any other comments, questions?
And also, to briefly answer that question, we have been advised there are to be no hires next year at all. Like it is budget season right now and we're not hiring.
Our budget's going to be thin for 26. I mean, we're not in trouble, but with things.
We will be if we don't do something.
Correct.
That is the message.
Sure. And so, we non-essential things that are additions that don't have to happen, likely aren't going to happen. And a piece of that is across the board. I don't think we're facing a hiring freeze. I think if we have vacancies, we'll likely be able to fill them, but adding new positions, at least for now, the message isn't going to fit across the board.
Yes, we all had our budgets gutted at random. We fixed it since then, but yeah, like we're doing what we can to keep things afloat.
Okay,
I'll follow up on that. Within, I'd say many taxpayers, if they say, I would be willing to pay this much more to have this, if a vision is in front of them of how they could help. Now, if they lose trust in us, in what we deliver, then they'll say, I'm not going to give you any money for anything. And so continue to execute cleanly during time, the budget helps build a good reputation for funding in the future.
I think I'd add too, that it just seems like there's been a lot of that type of stuff happening in this region and even outside of College Place in Walla Walla. And obviously the police station piece was unsuccessful. I think that if we struggle that much to get some of those things funded, I think the idea of having something that feels additional like parks funded is a pretty uphill battle for us. But also I just think we're in this season of, fresh administrator, shifts in some unexpected funding changes, and the reality of needing to steward all this stuff well. I think we're in a good season of just beginning to, slow and regroup, make sure we're doing the right things the right way, and being okay doing less for a little bit. I think we've done a lot for a while, and it's a good season for us.
no, I agree. I agree. I think making sure that we continue to message about the great things that have taken place, and it's going to be definitely about priorities, because as funding is always tight, but tighter now than ever with the federal government, and the things that aren't flowing to a lot of places where they were before. So. But yeah, I think that again, the discussions with Troy, talking about just, all the pieces of the puzzle, of course, through the city council's lens as well as mayor. So, okay,
Yeah,
moving.
Jenna, sorry,
Sure,
just
go
if I
ahead.
can make a quick
Good.
comment. Thanks.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you all. I think this was a hard meeting for all of us. I think in some ways, it definitely feels disappointing, but I think that there's an opportunity here to perhaps explore the power of volunteerism in our community. We had that wonderful guest come and speak to his desire to see more trees, to see more shade, to see more walkability. And I think, there are organizations in our community that do great work like the Blue Mountain Land Trust. And, perhaps it's a time to think about people power and have sort of a renewed engagement in that way. So that would be a recommendation that I would have, to perhaps look at some other ways to, move forward on projects that don't involve larger scope. Because it's funny, I've heard some comments negative about the new park. I think, some have been more positive. Some were like, where'd the pond go? And I think maybe we need some messaging around why the park was changed and what, especially the pond. I think there are some people that are upset about the pond. So I think that there's some work on communications that can be done. And I would love to see some more engagement when it comes to perhaps beautification projects. So that's my 2 cents.
Thanks, Jenna.
I wanted to comment about this as well. I think Lions has been great. I'm not sure where they're figuring we're missing the pond, but maybe I need to go back down there and see if my ducks are okay. I don't know. But what I was going to mention is, as a group, we have, I think, worked together well to help improve things here. And a lot of it has had to do with what Mike has been able to pursue money-wise and how he's organized things. We've had an unfortunate circumstance with the money for $500,000, which we're going to be working out. But when you look to the future, there's little things, but the Christensen development is around the corner at some point. And there is a major park effort there that's going to need to be done. And it should be done well. I've mentioned it before in these meetings. It is the potential is there for that park to be something truly great for our community. And if we miss that opportunity, we will be missing something for decades that could have otherwise been great. I have mentioned about Central Park. I know it sounds grandiose. It's a feature of New York that is incredible, and it took great vision and discipline and execution to make it what it is. In a lot of ways, that's our opportunity. And as a parks board, we need to understand clearly what impetus is going to go towards that, how it's going to affect the community, where the funding is going to come from, what additional things that can be done to make it what it truly could be. So I'm very interested in hearing what Troy has to say about that in the future. I think is really where our best work is yet to be done. So.
I'll follow off of that. One piece you mentioned there, you mentioned a specific city, a specific park, and the difference that it makes. One idea that occurred to me earlier this summer, I was visiting in Colorado, and I noticed and took some photographs of how they had laid out a park and the features that were there. And the follow-on idea is to either as our regular agenda or a special meeting would be for each of us to bring ideas of parks that have inspired us and say, oh, let's bring them from our individual ideas to a group and say, oh, maybe that's an idea that then becomes part of a park like along Stone Creek there.
Okay, yes, go ahead.
I am so sorry. I'm done after this. I am completely incorrect. I don't know why I thought this, but it says in the code that this board is to meet monthly. I was incorrect. It was never quarterly. I don't know why I thought that. And so the next 2 meetings would in theory be canceled because of the holidays for November and December. Would you guys like to reschedule one or keep your January meeting and we'll go from there? And you guys want to stay monthly? Yeah, let's do it.
From my perspective, it's really dependent upon what Troy wants to do. I want to be here to support whatever the objectives are for
Mhm.
parks.
Yes, sir.
And I would add, in addition to the holiday adjustments, we're in a season of him just trying to get off the, get started. And so his capacity to even understand this stuff is going to be probably very little. So no need to add anything extra to his plate. So I think January makes a lot of sense, and then we continue monthly from there.
Roger that. I'm so sorry.
Okay, we've got a couple more reports, the capital facility plan. Any questions or comments on that? Oops, and I can't operate my.
I have a couple questions on the capital plan. What is the status of the well on Teal Road?
Is a fluid situation, no pun intended. The well was drilled. Our initial well yields were significantly lower than we had and thought they were going to be. Even to the tune of, I think, like 150 gallons a minute, and we were hoping for 1,500. We did some further well development and brought that gallons per minute up to around 500. Still not as good as we wanted, but was going to make it a viable well for us. Since then, some water quality tests came back with high iron and manganese. And so we flushed and took some more testing to see if those levels changed. The iron went down to an acceptable level. The manganese did not. It dropped a little bit, but not low enough. So at this point, if we are to proceed with that well, there's going to have to be treatment system added at a significant cost, and ongoing operation cost to that as well. So we are still exploring our options. This is all news to me as of this week, so it is very, very recent. I mean, some of this has been in play, but just finding out that these water quality tests where they came back is new this week. So it is, we have already been working with the Conservancy Board and Department of Ecology to expand our water or area of water rights. The Conservancy Board approved it. We're supposed to have an answer back from Ecology by December 1st. Although I think they have the ability to take another 30 days. So by the end of the year, I would say we should have something from Ecology, and our consultants are helping us identify alternative locations for another well. And we are trying to engage with the funding agencies to find out what, if any of that funding will be transferable to another site. So it is probable that that well will not be used, at least not in the near future, not for potable water. It could become something that gets used for irrigation. It might be an option for helping to irrigate that new park in that area or something along those lines. A lot more to come on that, but yeah, we most likely are going to need to find another site and drill another well. So it's unfortunate.
Any other questions or comments on that? Okay, the state legislative agenda tab. Mary Elizabeth, do you have any comment on that one?
No, sir.
Okay. Any questions on either the state or federal legislative agenda? I think the both agendas are no money, no money, no money. Hearing none. Okay. Go ahead.
Are we supposed to make a motion as the Parks Board to concur with these agendas, or is it just advice?
Just reports. Just, yep. Okay, moving on down to we are next regular is February 27th. We've added that January 23rd. So unless there's any other items, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
It's been moved.
Second.
It's moved in second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you. We adjourned at 8:58 a.m.